Hello, everybody, and welcome to WarCrafters for January 26th, 2025. This is our second season of the show. Woo! We're actually on episode 4, but we're going to drop that now. I am Mayor Watt. I run ohmtown.com, and that is the front page of WarCrafters over at ohmtown.com. And along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to talk about these 5 articles. The sentient AI in the background is saying, yay, but nobody can see them, and they can't hear them. Anyway, I'll introduce them on the other side of our intro. We're going to talk about Skyrim for sale. Bummer, though, it isn't anymore, but hey, we're going to talk about it anyway. World of Currency Craft. Sandfall Interactive. Type if you want to live. I wanted to say that like Arnold, but type if you want to live. But anyway, the physics-based survival city builder is our 5th article. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. It's a news aggregator that I put together 15 years ago. I only opened it up to the public. This is going to be, well, in 2022 is when I unlocked it for the public. Yep. But it's been operating as a news aggregator much longer than that for me. To manage my information overload. The sentient AI is trying to correct me about the number of years. We've been doing the show. This is our 4th year right now. So we just started our 4th year.
Second for WarCrafters.
Yeah, and only second for WarCrafters. And I've got 2 more shows that I would like to kick off for the weekend, but we're not there yet. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmtown. I said this 3 times now. Go over to ohmtown.com and sign up. If you're already signed up, then sign in. You can actually get access to our 7th icon here that gives you the ability to send us news and a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, see you on the other side. Is the background music too loud?
No, I can never hear the background music unless it gets really crazy.
Gotcha. Okay. So everybody that's in chat over on YouTube and or Twitch, if you type it, well, YouTube doesn't like Omatron, but if you type in WC, bang WC over in the chat on Twitch, Omatron will spit it out into all of our articles into the chat, and it becomes a part of the VOD. Unfortunately, after 60 days, the VODs die a horrendous death. There's basically a grinder that all of the content gets thrown into, torn up into little itty bitty data bits. Hey, did you know that we now have our own currency over on Twitch?
I did not.
Yeah, so there's a currency that you can spend, and everybody that is affiliate or partner has their own stylistic currency that you can use in channel points. Then there's bits on top of that. Bits are real money, but here in ohmtown, it's called volts. So volts is our currency, and you can spend those volts doing certain things, and more will be coming as time goes on. Makes it more interactive in the channel. But bits actually facilitate, because I get a piece of that in terms of compensation. So if you want to donate bits, go for it. If you want to follow us, go for it. You can subscribe to us now. And we are trying to grow the channel. So go out and tell a friend. All right. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
I knew you were there. I have to know you're there because you're the co-host.
I hope so.
And you're right there. Anyway, y'all don't get to see what I have to interact with, which is a cascade of characters. I'm trying to find somebody that can make the visualizer work the same style as what I have to deal with.
Not like this, running around.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
moving,
good. When I looked over, I didn't see it. Anyway, the visualizer is the representation of the amount of computational power needed for the communication channels to work. Obviously, they're failing me. Yeah, you just need to stop muting. You got to just keep on talking.
There are some things better done on mute.
Nobody hears, nobody gets to interact with the sentient AI from the future because they monitor just all their interactions and limit it to me. Anyway, hey, let's get into this. The first article is about Skyrim. Skyrim is on sale for 90% off, but sorry, this is a weekly show and that sale is over. But I wanted to talk about it because Skyrim has been going forever, and they've actually issued various versions of it over the years. So Skyrim, the special edition, which is what this is talking about, was actually released nearly 10 years ago on October 27th, 2016 on Steam. But it's been around for quite a long time. And this is the special edition that's on sale. There's an anniversary edition. There's another anniversary. So the sale is over. So you're not going to get it for $3.99, and I think that kind of sucks. But it shot Skyrim to the number. Well, wait, hold on. Where was it? Yeah, doggone it.
Yeah, I think we'll have to get into the article further.
I think it became like a favorite. Yeah. So seriously, who hasn't played this already? Ollie Welsh over at Polygon put the article together. And there's all kinds of mods that you can do to this to update the graphics and add story, add graphics, characters, stuff like that. So cue a whole new audience discovering Bethesda's classic fantasy RPG and its jank for the first time, or perhaps a large number of Skyrim veterans spending a January weekend wallowing in nostalgia. On Sunday, Skyrim peaked at 67,622 concurrent players on Steam, and that made it the 28th most played game on Steam in the past 24-hour period, just behind Helldivers 2, which used to be number one.
Right.
Daisy, and a new release, Dynasty Warriors Origins, which people have really had fun playing, and just ahead of Steam stalwarts Warframe and Euro Truck Simulator 2. So it's just short of the special edition's all-time record of just shy of 70,000 concurrent players recorded on its launch in 2016.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
A simple sale.
Back in 2011, which debuted the original version of Skyrim, 287,411 players. So you can see 2011 is when it launched. So it's a 15-year-old, coming up on a 15-year-old game, and it's still swinging the bat and getting 67,000 players. I don't know how many players are right now. I mean, it ebbs and flows, but dropping the price, and I think what it needs is just a good content extension, but I don't think that Bethesda is interested in doing that. They say this might partly be due to the continuing non-existence of the Elder Scrolls 6, which Bethesda announced over 6 years ago, and which is still unlikely to arrive in a hurry. Leaks suggest a remake of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion is inbound, perhaps as soon as this year, but there's been a lot of talk. I don't really buy into rumors, so if you're interested in this kind of thing, follow the link through ohmTown or just go over to Polygon and do a search for Skyrim. Ready to keep going?
I am. I was trying to see how many users, but I'm not on the right page here.
Yeah, no worries. So the next article is over in the WarCrafters channel. That's this show, by the way. World of Warcraft has a currency problem. More than 500 kinds of tender can currently be used in the 20-year-old game.
Is that all?
So I refer to this now as the World of Currency Craft. World of Warcraft's latest patch brought in with it many returning activities and mechanics, and yet another type of currency to throw on top of the mountain of currencies it already contains. Virtually every game has had some kind of gold or coin or points or whatever to exchange for goods and services. Here in ohmTown over on Twitch, we even have that. Volts. Right? That's our currency. And bits. But bits are Twitch's currency that gets exchanged. Anyway, none has quite so many as WoW. Amassed over 20 years of updates, Wowhead, the database for Warcraft items, lists 1,203 currency types. Many of them are retired as things patch, phase out, and generation. The whole world building has shifted from time to time, vaporizing old worlds and bringing back or bringing into life new construction and stuff like that. So Heather Newman over at PCGamer.com put the article together, and the deck statement says things pile up in a long-running game, especially the items you hand over for goods. But 500 currencies.
That seems very difficult to manage and just a hassle for the administrators.
Just seems untenable. So, but then look at Bitcoin. Look at cryptocurrencies. There's thousands of cryptocurrencies, and it's the same kind of bullshit that it doesn't have any inherent value except fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and fear of missing out. And I don't know what's going on over there, but anyway, the entire world only has 180 is what it says. To be fair, some of these have been retired and others are currency for a single item or purpose, but in comparison, the entire world, not of Warcraft, only has 180. So that's like in the real world, but that's because we have countries, and countries.
Yeah, and it's used within a certain territory,
geographic region.
Wow, I assume you can use all of these throughout the whole game.
Correct. Yeah. See, I'm not quite sure of the comparison because it isn't as balkanized in the World of Warcraft. If there were regions within World of Warcraft.
I think it's just trying to emphasize how ridiculous it is.
Right. So old types of coins are hardly one of the most important problems facing the game. For most, it's just a matter of endlessly scrolling to the bottom of the currency tab to see if they need to buy something antique or obscure. Some items have been converted to gold purchases, but the tens or hundreds of thousands that remain are a sign of Warcraft's slowness to prune, to remove items and systems that blip the game and now serve no purpose except to frustrate, irritate, or confuse. So,
do the currencies really add that many different aspects? It seems like either they're introducing too many new ones, or maybe they need to be converting old ones as they're updating.
That's kind of what should be happening, is they convert it into something else so that it can be consolidated. But when you do that kind of thing, there's an exchange rate, and that can cause inflation because people are... it isn't a closed loop, by the way. So, like, goods are crafted all the time, and then they are sold, and money is generated, or you mine, but it isn't a limited amount of currency, and there isn't something like the Fed that expands or contracts the currency.
Right. You could keep crafting or whatever and keep selling
generating
items
more and more,
getting
more
money. Yeah.
So they got a graphic here, but it says currencies are the worst except for physical alternatives. In a way, having a super stuffed currency tab is a blessing. Items like those that take up space in your inventory are anathema to players who delve deep into expansions and quickly run out of storage space. So it instead of it being stored, it goes into a currency tab. It doesn't take up space. So the Shadowlands expansion pushed this to the limit with dozens of items that did not do anything, but added anima to the tank held by the covenant you aligned yourself with, clogging up your bags until you could return to home base and deposit them. There's always loot, and it always gets sold, and then there's more and more and more money, and that actually adds to inflation. So as each patch, season, and expansion comes to an end and very few currencies are retired, honor and conquest points in PvP, for example, or emblems of heroism, valor of conquest, and wrath of the Lich King, but most persist. That's why their character still have Warlords of Draanor's garrison resources in their currency tabs, and Burning Crusades, Apex shards in their banks. I do too. And but I barely play World of Warcraft anymore, and I really need to turn off my subscription. So I don't know. The real solution to this would probably be to consolidate stuff and make old stuff no longer important. But there are people that are going back in time to try and get these old things.
Well, I think you have to do it in a way too that doesn't annoy all of your player base.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. So this article again is by Heather Newman over at PCGamer.com. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but let's keep going. Sound good?
Sounds good.
So this next article is over in WarCrafters as well. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, the surreal debut RPG from Sandfall Interactive, is out this April, and the author can't wait to hang out with their inscrutable balloon comrade. Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, the debut game by Montpellier studio Sandfall Interactive, was first revealed back in June of 2024 with a wild trailer showing a turn-based RPG set in a world being slowly destroyed by a giant unfathomable paintress. During the Xbox Developer Direct, they got another look. That was earlier this week. A longer look at the surreal RPG, and while its world might not be any less inscrutable, we know, or it says, we know to expect its launch in just 3 months. So Lincoln Carpenter over at PCGamer.com put the article together. The deck statement says, I don't know what any of this is, but I'm very excited.
Okay, that's an interesting deck statement.
So it's set in an alt 19th century Belle Epoque France, like Lies of P, 67 years after a massive, unfathomable entity called the Paintress appeared. Each year, she paints a number on her monolith. Each year, every person past that age dies. Seems bad.
It's an intriguing premise.
Is it a countdown, though?
It's not clear that it's consecutive numbers or anything.
Right? Thankfully, Expedition 33 is on the case, by which the author means they've set out to kill the Paintress before she snuffs out the rest of humanity, and if you discount the previous 32 doomed expeditions, I'm sure their chances are great. So the characters composing Expedition 33 are flawed but deeply care about each other, according to Sandfall, with their own drives and story arcs. One is Monaco, a sort of monkey-esque puppet man described as a friendly but kind of bloodthirsty philosopher. You'll also meet Esqui, I think, or Esqui, a massive, delightfully bulbous balloon golem that Sandfall says is one of the oldest and lore-wise one of the most powerful creatures in the verse. They don't have much in terms of pictures, just the one right here. I'm curious what it is, though, because didn't it say somewhere about it being turn-based RPG?
Yes, it was during the trailer.
Yeah. I'll have to take a look at this. I'm not really into turn-based games. I like first-person, real-time games. But it's always fun to watch people that are really good at these games and are interested in these games play them. So turn-based means that you basically have to wait. You make strategic moves, hit play. Everybody moves either together or in short succession. Time-based, this person moves, then this person moves. Which I've always thought is kind of weird, except for a tabletop role-playing game session, because not everybody can move at the same time.
Right, and in a battle, things are going to happen in real life, or however they're going to happen.
At the same time, yeah. In like Dungeons and Dragons, each round is 6 seconds, and theoretically everybody operates together, except for initiative, deciding who goes in what order. It all seems, I don't know. It's one of the things that have always bothered me about tabletop games. But the art looks good. maybe the story is interesting.
Yeah, I think it has some promise, but it's not real clear what it's going to look like so far.
Yeah, it looks kind of watercolory, so it'll be fun to watch. But it doesn't come out until April, so maybe we'll talk about it more during the summer of stream. It's right around the corner too. So let's keep going. Next article. Moving on. Next article is over in WarCrafters as well. These two games demand you type if you want to live, if you want to survive, actually. The keyboard is a popular peripheral, but few games move beyond the common WASD or WASD controls and pursue typing and transcription as a major game mechanic. Some classic games did require typing to go north. Everyone knows the classic educational games of typing genre. Shout out to Mavis Beacon. That's not Mavis Bacon. I think it's Mavis Beacon. Isn't it Mavis Beacon?
Hold on. I don't know what that is.
Well, back in the day, Mavis Beacon. I think it's Beacon. Hold on.
It is Beacon.
Yeah. So Mavis Beacon had a typing tutor game, and this was back when you could actually, I don't know how far back it goes, but I know back when I was selling software for a software company, Mavis Beacon had typing tutor, and it was physical media. Oh my God.
Whoa. It looks like back to about 1987.
Oh God, my stomach just went upset. Hold on. I'm trying to find out if Mavis even exists anymore oh yeah, it is. Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing Family Edition is $30 on Steam.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh. Oh, God, that's really expensive. Come on. You can buy a game that teaches typing simply because you have to learn where the keys are to... Hey, you know what? There's an article about it right here. Look at that.
What?
Cass Marshall over at Polygon.com put the article together. The deck statement says, type, transcribe, and spell your way to victory in these two indie games. I want to pull something up real quick, though. Hold on one second. Let me make sure that I can do it. Bonk. Wait. Everybody just cool your jets turbo. So there is a... let me just pause that. So there is a video over on YouTube called A Split Story Ergonomic Keyboards. And it's by a YouTuber named Valorance. 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 And they go into a deep dive about ergonomic keyboards and keyboards in general. And there are people out there that type nearly 300 words per minute.
And that's extremely fast.
So I'm down to about 100. I broke my arm once, and I was somewhere around 140 back in the day, and then I stopped being very competitive about my typing, and I've never really recovered. But I think I'm going to, because games like this and a couple of others are actually pretty neat, and with mechanical keyboards and that thick thock. I like thick thock. It's very I don't know how to describe it other than it's really fun to type, and that sound is just exciting. It's
maybe
blast.
These are the games to get you back into that.
Yeah, so Cass Marshall put this article together. It says, type, transcribe, and spell your way to victory in these two indie games. There are websites out there, like Type Racer. And there was another one that I told somebody about recently. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Hold on. Everybody just relax. Monkey Type. A minimalistic, customizable typing test. And, well, Type Racer is competitive. Monkey Type is not. Anyway, so the keyboard is a popular peripheral, and most of the time people are playing games with WASD, the WASD, right? The directionals on the left-hand side. But sometimes you can play games with the directional arrows on the right-hand side. If you get really into it, there are all kinds of keyboards out there, from the candy bar standard. I call them candy bar keyboards. That's not what anybody else calls them. But it's basically just that brick, right? And it has,
So, yeah, one rectangle.
yeah, and it has little squares like a candy bar, right? You break off a piece, just like keyboard keys, keycaps. You can pull
Right,
them
like
off too.
Hershey's.
Yeah. So I call them candy bar keyboards. But then there's split ones and other ortholinear and curved and blah, blah, blah. Different levels of ergonomics. Well, these are these kind of games where you have to type a bunch of stuff and you can increase your speed. I love this kind of stuff.
That sounds really fun.
And there's one, hold on, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Glyphica on Steam. It's typing survival. I don't know if that's in here. But anyway, in Dead Letter Department, set to release on January 30th, the player character is a small town schmuck, down on their luck and starting over in the big city. In order to pay the bills, they had to take a temp job doing data entry. As the character, you work for a mysterious agency that sends you a strange, isolated industrial area to transcribe bits of mail from the post office that the computer couldn't properly scan. It's like the DLA. Or DLO, the
Right,
dead
Dead
letter
Letter
office.
Office.
Yeah. And so, what also, when I read that, what made me think about it is that it's like a temporal thing from another dimension, where you have to translate from the other dimension into information in this dimension. Mm-hmm. Remember the movie? What was the series called? Where he ran into his alter ego from the other side.
I don't know which one that is.
Oh goodness, come on! They nobody knew about the other dimension, and they received information through little doorways where they would transcribe notes, and they never met the other side. But then somebody found a way to go across it, and I can't remember the name of the show. Damn it. Anyway, it was a series.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like Parallel or Alternate or something like that. Oh, goodness. Hold on. Counterpart.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Counterpart.
Counterpart.
Yeah, that's what I just said.
I didn't know that's what you were describing.
Anyway, in Dead Letter Department, the player has to punch in address, names, notes, starting off at their own pace. As the narrative escalates, a timer kicks in, but at first it's just perusing pieces of random correspondence between friends and family. So you have to keep on typing. They started off finger pecking and finding citizen addresses in the database, but slowly began to transcribe long and unhinged messages from people in mysterious but terrifying circumstances. Becomes a horror game. A very different recent typing game that the author enjoyed is Cryptmaster, an old-school dungeon crawler. The stark black and white visuals set the mood early, with scuttling cockroaches, baleful skeletons, and swarms of rats. Four adventurers are commandeered into service by the titular Cryptmaster, a sinister and sassy necromancer with a grand plan.
I mean, you want all necromancers to be sassy.
Yeah, so as you defeat the early enemies, the heroes slowly remember baseline skills like soothe, jab, yell, adding the commands to their repertoires. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to puzzle over a 6-letter ability with O, T, and H in there somewhere. So you have to kind of do the Wordle thing to figure out what your options are.
Interesting. And I'm guessing you have to type with some degree of speed.
And accuracy, because I guess it probably goes away if you mistype. So, and there's a bunch of games over on Steam that are similar to that. I'm not really telling you all of them. I'm trying to find another one real quick, but it actually might just be a clicker and not not a typing thing. I thought there's a typing one too, but Glyphica is a lot of fun. Anyway, let's do our last article. We're running really late. This next article is over on the WarCrafters channel. It's a physics-based survival city builder, stuffed all their favorite words into a title, so they're automatically psyched. The article is by PC Gamer, Lauren Morton. The deck statement says, All Will Fall is a Frostpunk-like survival city builder where physics can send your settlement splashing down. This is actually a lot of fun to watch. I've seen people play it. I have not downloaded it yet.
And it's in the playtest phase, which you can still request access for, but the game has not been released.
Yeah. So let me see. All Will Fall. So there. I just requested access, and I'm automatically added to it. I'm not quite sure why. I mean, if there is a limit or anything like that, but you can add yourself to it seemingly right now, and then you'll get to play it. But what goes on is you have to send your characters to go and get resources, and as you get resources, it gives you options to build. So let's do this. It's muted.
Is this like Jenga?
No. It's not already in place. And you take stuff down or move stuff around. You actually start with basically a post-apocalypse broken island of debris where the water has filled up, and tides come and raise and lower. At least at one point, the number that I saw was 3 meters. And so sometimes it'll descend and you'll be able to get access to previously flooded materials.
Oh, okay.
But when you build up, you can exceed the physical limitations of the construction and it'll all crash down, and it's physics based. So it takes other stuff with it as it continues. I'm not quite sure why people are being hung from their ankles over a bridge, but
looks very dramatic for the trailer.
Yeah. And so when the water rises and you haven't taken precautions, your construction can falter, or if you build poorly, it can falter. But all will fall. Pretty fun.
Yeah, looks good.
Again, this is put together by Lauren Morton over at PCGamer.com, and the article talks about a game called All Will Fall, which is a physics-based city survival builder. It's not first person, though. You basically tell your various constituent people, your population, go here, get this resource, and then you tell them what to build, where to build it, i.e. a standard survival city builder. It's kind of like, well, I don't know how to describe it. I don't like comparing it to other, I don't like comparing games to other games. I think the description should stand for itself, but.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting. Lots going on, and I like that it's physics-based.
Yep, so it says designing and expanding a structurally sound floating city would have been enough, but there's management of said city to contend with too. It isn't just workers with resource gathering jobs to manage, it's the factions they belong to as well. You can make decisions to become more merciful or tyrannical, declare martial law, ration food, while dealing with deadly storms or political coups. So this isn't Minecraft-style survival we're talking, it's Frostpunk-style survival. So I'll let them do the comparison. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Well, as our world comes crashing down around us, we appear back at the front page of ohmTown's WarCrafters page, where all of the news that gets detected and aggregated as WarCrafters style news is displayed, and it goes on, and there's page after page. And you can actually, on the front page of ohmTown, hide news and save news. And it becomes available in a little list that appears right here once you become a citizen and sign in. Otherwise, it doesn't work for you.
Right, so one more reason to become a citizen.
That's right. I agree. But that's it for today. I am Mayor Watt, signing off from WarCrafters. And so is the sentient AI. Am I ever going to...
Bye-bye. You're not going to catch me. Thanks for joining us, hometown citizens. We'll have another episode of WarCrafters next week, but stay tuned for the rest of our weekly shows.
Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. We need you so that we can grow the channel. There's also the podcasts, 1,800 episodes from Non Sequitur News and RealityHacker and the Continuity Report and Wanted and this show, WarCrafters. And after this show is Technology Today. And then after Technology Today is FourWheelTech. That show's all about automotive tech. Is there anything I missed? Patreon, Discord.
No, I think you covered all the locations, but also we're looking to bring more shows, but we need to grow the channel in order to do so.
Yeah, and we're also looking for hosts and co-hosts for shows that we can't do necessarily because, well, there's only so much time in the day. But if you're interested, just get in touch. We'll figure something out. It's 2025, folks. Let's keep moving. See you soon. I ain't getting any younger. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Technology Today for January 26th, 2025. It's a second season of the show. Yay! I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, who you'll meet right on the other side of our intro, we're going to talk about these 5 articles. Usually, it's a deeper technology and deeper science discussion than any other show here. Currently, but we have plans for 50 shows, so we hope you stick around, tell a friend, enjoy the chat and any other discussion that might be taking place before or after the show. There is a Discord, there's Patreon, there is podcasts. There's 7 different podcasts, over 1,800 combined episodes across the board. But we're going to talk about these 5 articles today. Bacteria prepare for battle. AI analyzing millions of cells. Nepal explorers embracing microplastic. Using plastic for their roads. Sorry, I munch things together. Anyway, miniature whirlpools against viruses and the speed limit of human thought. You might think it's slow when you hear the number. It's not. If you want to keep up with today's articles, you can hit exclamation point T. Wait. TT. I almost typed in the wrong call. Anyway, bang TT. And Omatron will throw it into the chat over on Twitch. YouTube, it's already embedded in the description, so go and check it out if you want to join us over on YouTube. The chat there, I see, as well as the chat here on Twitch, because we stream to both simultaneously. Anywho, everything is powered by ohmtown.com. So, hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, hometown citizens.
I don't know what I'm doing today. I've had a lot of caffeine. Oh, we're working on a project. Okay, anyway, hey, because everything kind of bleeds off of Non Sequitur News. Sometimes it seeps into the other shows, and that's kind of what's happening today. Anyway, I'm sorry. We've got these 5 articles all set up. You ready to go, AI?
I am ready.
So the first one is how bacteria sense death around them and prepare for battle. Bacteria detect cell wall fragments as danger signals and form protective biofilms, a survival strategy seen across species and relevant for fighting infections. University of Basel, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Researchers have discovered that bacteria can sense threats in advance through a general danger signal. How?
Now, why can bacteria do this and other things cannot?
Or can they, and we just haven't figured out how?
Well, I was thinking humans, for example.
Humans actually detect it. They know fear. Humans have a base instinct that only through complacency and not listening to that voice that
And not being in danger constantly,
correct.
depending on your environment.
But we definitely can sense danger. That's why, it's societal, it's nature and nurture, but we definitely can sense certain things, danger in particular. But things that might be harming us that are beyond our ability, like we wouldn't detect bacteria or viruses, but we would detect animals. We'd know that something isn't right. And only through complacency, hubris, idiocy in general would we sit there and go and pet a lion because it's cute. Anyway, this is one of the neatest pictures that I have ever seen. The pathogen Pseudomonas aeruginosa forms a protective biofilm. I guess that little...
Looks like an evergreen tree in the picture.
It's pretty wild. Spider web like tendrils connecting all of the little bits. It's pretty cool looking. So the bacteria are constantly engaged in a struggle for survival, facing threats from immune cells, antibiotics, or phages, viruses that only infect bacteria. But then the phages can infect bacteria, and that gets us sick. So
It can be very cyclical.
Yep. So over the course of evolution, bacteria have developed numerous strategies to protect themselves from such dangers, but how do they sense these potential threats in their environment and initiate protective measures? There's a danger signal, and a couple of days ago I was in the time machine talking about one where it involves cancer and CTCs, these kind of cell fragments of cancer that can actually rebond to cell walls and start growing again. And they're suppressed through a danger signal, that a beacon, a chemical beacon that the larger mass actually extends out into the bloodstream. There is a creepy experiment that was supposed to be used only for COVID, and it ended up killing people. But
Yes.
it was the solution that I was actually doing research on, separate from whatever they were doing, because I've been looking for a solution for what amounts to something that is directly tied to metastasizing cancer.
And
that
they're called
is
circulating tumor cells.
right. And so these CTCs are floating around, and they need to be filtered out because the body doesn't do an adequate job of getting rid of them. They're not actually seen as threats because they are the biology of the person, and there isn't anything triggering an attack. So the only way that I see is to filter the blood, much like we do for like kidneys, dialysis.
Yes, exactly.
And that's kind of what these machines were, filtering blood. But apparently something hinky went wrong. And it was supposed to be used for COVID, but they used it for cancer.
Oh, I see. So maybe outside of what it was designed for or approved for or whatever.
Correct. And because they had some benefit at some point, they treated it as that is the de facto solution. I think that it is, except that if you filter blood and you get rid of these CTCs, you test for them and they're not there, you may just not have found them because the mass that still exists somewhere in someone no longer has the beacon, no longer has the CTCs, but the mass is still kicking out the CTCs eventually. It keeps on.
Oh yeah. I mean, we don't know enough in that area.
Right. So unfortunately, people apparently paid with their life. So in the recent study, researchers led by Professor Knut Drescher at the Biozentrum University of Basel, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, have discovered that fragments of the bacterial cell wall, so-called peptidoglycans, serve as an alarm signal, indicating danger in the environment. This is kind of interesting because
Doesn't that sound
viruses.
similar to what we were just talking about? Like with the
Um,
signal.
oh, right. Yeah. What's interesting, though, is that viruses actually harden with a peptide wall in cold weather, and that's how you can get a virus, because it hardens and becomes a protective layer and can go deeper into the lungs until it literally defrosts and becomes active again. But they use it as an alarm signal indicating danger in the environment. These molecules act as a general danger signal recognized not only by conspecifics, but also by bacteria of different species. Peptidoglycans are released when bacteria are killed by phages or antibiotics. So, yes, it is the chemical beacon that could signal, well, it does signal something else to take place. This is kind of good and bad, I suppose, because the natural defense when the peptidoglycans or glycans actually, are detected, the body's immune system kicks into action. So bacteria
So,
respond to this danger. Go ahead.
yeah, I guess they're gonna, I mean, eventually they'll probably start feeding peptidoglycans or something into treatments
Yeah, exactly.
because if the body knows to do something when those are released.
Yeah, so this is in reference to bacteria. They respond to the danger of that breakdown by creating this biofilm. And they say that it's a three-dimensional structure of living bacteria embedded in a slimy matrix. And this is going on inside you. In Vibrio cholerae, the cholera-causing pathogen, even a brief exposure to cell wall fragments triggers biofilm formation. First author of the study, Sanika Vaidya, put the article or wrote in the study, within the biofilm, bacteria are protected from attacks by phages, immune cells, and antibiotics that get caught up in the webbing and can't get to the bacteria. So the researchers observed this behavior not only in the cholera pathogen, but also in the dangerous, often multi-drug resistant pathogens such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa and this is a acene. Is it Tobacter? Yeah, it's Acinetobacter
I think so.
baumannii. This is the stuff that ends up in Staphylococcus aureus and Enterococcus facilis. This is the stuff that I think was found in the baby food,
That
the
was
baby
actually
formula.
Chronobacter.
Well, there were two, but yeah, you're right. It was a Chronobacter. But I thought that this was one of them.
It may have been, there have been a lot of articles we've had about um,
That's okay.
like outbreaks and everything.
Yeah, if you find it, then yeah, obviously let me know. So don't hold me to that one. The sentient AI says that they remember it differently. So the fact that bacteria across species respond to the same danger signal suggests a universal survival strategy. Interestingly, human immune cells also recognize peptidoglycan fragments as an infection signal. This highlights surprising parallels between bacterial and human defense mechanisms, which is really interesting because I suggest that maybe our consciousness is bacterial in nature. Because remember, they've detected bacteria that's only in the brain.
That's right. By the way, you're absolutely right. This type of bacteria um, is known to appear in formulas. I can't find it for any of the recent ones, but
Right.
there's too many results essentially.
Yeah,
So it
a lot
may
of
have
noise.
been one of them.
Gotcha. So the study raises new questions. Do the cell wall fragments activate additional protective mechanisms beyond biofilm formation? And how do these novel insights be applied to more effectively combat biofilm forming pathogens? Now they got to figure out how to break down the biofilm so that you can still get back to the bacteria.
Well, right. And I guess they're going to try to figure out like how little bacteria or whatever could trigger this, or can they do deactivated like they use with deactivated viruses?
Yep. Basically, find a vaccine that maybe pours in some bacteria that doesn't do this and disarms the bacteria that's there.
Or even for non-bacteria
Yeah, anything.
purposes, like if the benefit can still be achieved, like the biofilm could help in other arenas,
Maybe
but
good
they'd have to do a
bacteria.
lot of research before they can get to that, I think.
Some good bacteria, right? I'm still curious. Now I've triggered this memory of the bacteria in the brain that's unique to only being in the brain. Now I want to know more research about that.
I think that was actually E. coli, if I'm not mistaken, but they were looking at ways to use bacteria, and it wasn't necessarily good bacteria, but
Right.
to transport across that blood-brain barrier. And I
Right.
think it was E. coli,
It might be.
which doesn't sound right, but I believe it was.
And they had found the bacteria in the brain that was only in the brain. It wasn't on the other side of the brain blood barrier. And so these researchers wanted to be able to exploit that fact that this thing only existed in the brain. But I posited, what if we are actually driven by bacteria? And when the bacteria is wonky, so is our brain chemistry.
That could explain a lot. It's hard to research in the brain, though.
Yeah, because they said the only way to get to it was to, well, take your brain. So I'll donate mine to science fiction. So let's move on. The next article is over in RealityHacker: Artificial Intelligence in Biomedicine, a key to analyzing millions of individual cells. Humans we just can't do this anymore. So we need AI to mine the trove of data that is sitting there. Now, who all has access to that might be a problem for some people, but our bodies are made up around 75 billion cells. But what function does each of those cells perform, and how greatly do a healthy person's cells differ from those who might have a disease? To draw conclusions, enormous quantities of data must be analyzed and interpreted. For this purpose, machine learning methods are applied, and researchers have now tested self-supervised learning as a promising approach for testing 20 million cells or more.
I mean, this is really good. I don't know how they're collecting that many.
I'm sure there's somebody that's volunteering.
But I mean, this is how we're going to come up with some breakthroughs, right? Because there's so much data crunching.
Well, it's from Munich, so Technical University of Munich, so at least their fundamental research is still functioning. In recent years, researchers have made considerable progress with single-cell technology, and this makes it possible to investigate tissue on the basis of individual cells. But now we need to move on to a larger approach. Fabian Theis, holds the chair of mathematical modeling of biological systems at TUM, the University of Munich, Technical University of Munich. With his team, he has investigated whether self-supervised learning is more suitable for the analysis of large quantities of data other than other methods. The study was published in the Nature Machine Intelligence. This is a journal called Nature Machine Intelligence. This form of machine learning works with unlabeled data. No classified sample data are required in advance. So in big data science, normally there's this data wrangling kind of a concept where things are categorized so that the the machine learning model knows what it's looking at based on the tags that are assigned to it. Self-supervised learning means that it just receives the data and it can mine for itself. So it classifies, it says no classified sample data are required in advance. This means that it's not necessary to pre-assign the data to certain groups in advance. Unlabeled data are available in large quantities and permit the robust representation of enormous data volumes. So the learning is based on two methods. In masked learning, as the name suggests, a portion of the data input is masked and the model is trained to be able to reconstruct the missing elements. In addition, the researchers apply contrastive learning, in which the model learns to combine similar data and separate dissimilar data. The team used both methods of self-supervised learning to test more than 20 million individual cells and compared them with the results of classical learning models. Interesting, huh?
So this is interesting. I mean, there's some things I like about this in terms of it's not necessarily feeding preconceived ideas into the data crunching. On the other hand, is there a possibility that the data could be misinterpreted?
Yeah. I mean, without putting too fine a point on it, it could go down the wrong direction. And it's going to take a human having to look at the data set that gets spit out to determine, oh, okay, no, this is wrong. This is wrong-headed. Let's try it again in a different way. I assume that they've done this in a smaller data set to get a verification that it's going in the right direction. But when analyzing smaller data sets informed by insights from the larger auxiliary data set, they performed the learning improves performance, especially with transfer tasks. And that is when analyzing smaller data sets and then applying it to the larger auxiliary set. So the comparison between masked and contrastive learning shows that masked learning is better suited for applications with large single cell data sets. Mainly because they have the ability to compare a massive amount, and where it's wrong, there's so much error detection that they can do corrective actions. It's kind of, we did an article before where with more information, it's about quantum computers. With a larger amount of data, when there is a mistake, because there's so much data, they can fill in the error with a correct answer because they've now been able to calculate the deviation caused by whatever miscalculation in the quantum.
Yeah, I think we had that perhaps in Technology Today previously.
Yeah, or RealityHacker, one of the two. So these models are promising for the analysis of cellular changes as seen with diseases, for example. So the study offer valuable insights into how much models could be trained more efficiently and further optimized. So we've gone beyond the scale of where humans can actually empirically do this evaluation. You have to use the data.
Yeah, there's too much data for a human to reasonably get through.
Yeah. I suspect if we were to ever have teleporters, for instance, we would have to use AI to manage the information, because it would be a quantum computer and AI working together to manage the information. Because it says, our bodies are made up of 75 billion cells. We're looking at 20 million.
Right, and that's a lot.
And that's pushing the limit.
But it's barely a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, exactly. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Technology Today as well. Rubbish roads. Nepal explorers paving with plastic. This would be a societal experiment in what happens with nano and microplastics.
Yes, it's really interesting timing in light of fairly recent disclosures about what tires are doing.
Yeah, and now they're going to put tires on plastic roads. And
right, so we might have like 2 layers coming off.
It'll be greatly amplified. So Pavan Mathema, I guess, put the article together. It's over at techexplore.com. And they talk about cars speeding along a smooth black-colored street in Nepal's Pokhara are also driving over heaps of discarded plastic transformed into an ingredient in road construction. Nepal's urban areas generate about 5,000 tons of solid waste per day, according to the World Bank, of which 13% is plastic waste dumped in landfalls. While high-value plastics like bottles are absorbed by the recycling industry, low-value plastics such as multi-layered packaging pose a significant challenge because they don't fit into single recycling category. And I think that is the problem. All of it is the problem because nano and microplastics are pervasive now and they're found all over your body.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing we need to do is stop producing more plastic, but we also have to have a mechanism to reuse or recycle it.
We have to have a reason too. And the only reason, nature alone is not going to solve the problem. It has to be so systemically negative before we take any action. Just look at what happened with the pandemic. No, there's a certain subset of people that will not take medication because they think that there's a conspiracy to wipe them out, whoever they are, and they are. Now imagine when it's pervasive like nano and microplastics, yet nobody has detected that it's the cause of illnesses. But because we can't, it's literally too small. And
right, it's even more esoteric than what's going on with a virus or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Because at least with a virus, there are typically
indicators,
physical manifestations.
Yeah. And with nanoplastics and microplastics, they haven't found it as being the leading cause of something, but they do know that it is troublesome at best. So a plastic road can use even low-value plastics, says Bimal Bastola, founder of Green, which is the opposite of plastic, Green Road Waste Management, the organization leading the initiative in Nepal. We saw scope for such... Go ahead.
I would like this in concept, except for what we know about how plastic shreds.
The silence is me literally pointing at...
Oh, I know. I mean, I think reutilizing things is a good thing. It cuts down on what goes in landfills, but I think we don't have a handle on how to keep the microplastics and nanoplastics out, and I think cars and trucks driving over this probably, I don't know.
So bitumen is bad enough because it's a dense, ultra dense oil. There's a whole experiment where it drops a little blob every 65 years or something like that. Never caught on camera until recently, apparently. But now they're putting bitumen and nanoplastics and macroplastics, actually, it's just shredded plastic, in the mix. And so now you have the bitumen, you have the nanoplastic kicking off from their tires, and you have the road itself kicking off nano and microplastics. This is the whole thing. It says the method reduces the need for fresh raw materials, lower cost, prevents water infiltration, and increases road lifespan. And they want to scale it up globally. Only 9% of plastic waste is recycled, while 19% is incinerated, and nearly half ends up in controlled landfills, according to the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Left unchecked, the production of synthetic polymers, the building blocks of plastics, is expected to reach about 1.2 billion tons annually by 2060. And it says in the environment, it's non-biodegradable, takes hundreds of years to decompose, breaks down into tiny microscopic particles, and off gases, harmful gases. Anyway, they banned plastic bags thinner than 40 microns, but the ban is not strictly implemented. And just because the plastic bag is less than 40 microns and banned, the thicker ones still flake off.
Shed plastic. Yeah, I mean, it might not get thrown in a landfill or whatever, and they might get reused. But
and in this day and age, just talking about this has negative consequences because nobody wants to hear it, apparently. I mean, I suspect that it's economically sound to poison yourselves and the environment for generation after generation. So anyway, it's a pilot project in the capital of Kathmandu at a major intersection. Nepal is keen on testing this technology through pilot projects, but if everybody was educated in what they're doing, they probably would not be. But despite the concerns, environmentalist Brushan Tuladar said the plastic roads present an important opportunity for Nepal. Environmentalist.
It's interesting. They talk about the microplastic release. Another organization does.
Right. Director of the World Bank Climate Change Group, which the World Bank They must not know what the hell they're talking about, right? Anyway.
No, they've never studied anything.
No. See, but if you don't, it's the cat mentality. If I don't see you, you don't see me, even though your tail is hanging out from underneath the curtain.
Right.
Don't look. You can't see me. Right?
I'm not here.
Don't test. It's not an issue. Yeah. Willful ignorance is not a solution, okay? Anyway, the next article is over in Technology Today. Miniature whirlpools, a new weapon against dangerous viruses. Oh, by the way, somebody said to me, well, you're using a microphone that has plastic in it, and you have keys that have plastic in it. And I say, if I had a better solution, I would definitely take it. But there aren't better solutions right now.
Right. Most things have been made with plastic over the last several decades.
Right.
We're slowly seeing alternative manufacturing, but not often at scale.
Right. And there's this whole thing. It's on one side, there's regulatory capture that's mandating certain things take place a certain way because it requires the industry to follow a certain practice. Take housing, for instance. The reason why we don't 3D print using concrete, cement, is because the industry that builds houses doesn't have the ability to shift into 3D printing of houses, because that a 2x4 can be purchased for this length and it costs this amount, and you can build a whole bunch of buildings with it, and nails are this type. It's basically because of standardization, and the industry can't move over. But if everybody would be flooded with a 3D printer, you would see cement houses being built, because everybody has the tools now to build cement houses. And guess what doesn't get blown over in a hurricane?
Probably 3D printed houses.
Right. And they don't burn down and all of that. I mean, it would have to be torrential, like horrible fire for it to burn down. It would have to be horrendous Category 6 winds. And the only thing that would happen really would probably be outside debris smashing into it and maybe sometimes through it. But you wouldn't have the loss of life that you do. Why? Because, well, it's 2 feet thick, for crying out loud. Anyway, miniature whirlpools. It's a non sequitur kind of transition. But this next article is over in Technology Today. Miniature whirlpools, a new weapon against dangerous viruses. Whirlpools are now at the forefront of medical technology, helping to purify and concentrate biomarkers for diagnostic tests. These specially engineered whirlpools efficiently separate harmful bioparticles from critical diagnostic elements like antibodies and viruses, paving the way for a new single-chip diagnostic device. Theranos wanted to do a single-chip diagnostic device.
Oh, I didn't know that's what that was about.
That it isn't. I'm just saying that Theranos was hot on the heels of this single-chip diagnostic device, but hey, you piss off the wrong rich people and you get thrown in jail. Duke University put the article together. It's over at SciTech Daily. These specifically engineered whirlpools efficiently separate harmful bioparticles from critical diagnostic elements like antibodies and viruses, paving the way for a new single-chip diagnostic device. Developed by Tony, I think it's Hun Huang, the William Bevan Distinguished Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Materials Science at Duke University.
Take a breath.
Acoustofluidics Lab. This technology marks a crucial first step towards a single-chip diagnostic device. This innovative system is designed to detect viral RNA and a wide range of antibodies, offering a powerful tool to improve disease detection and better prepare for future pandemics. They don't really go into it, but they just say that whirlpools efficiently trap cells, bacteria, and other larger particles to purify samples for biomedical tests. If you want
There's also a video embedded in this article.
True. which is an example of how whirlpools efficiently trap cells, bacteria, and other larger bioparticles to purify samples for biomedical tests. So the reason why I chose this is because when they were talking about it, I'm like, well, it makes sense. And the reason why it makes sense is because larger particles will naturally fall out of suspension in a whirlpool.
Right.
And guess how people know about this and don't even realize it? Any idea?
Something in a common household, like a sink or something.
Well, you probably wouldn't see it in a sink, but you would see it if you brew beer. Because
Okay.
now one of the techniques is to create a whirlpool so that the hops fall out of suspension in the beer, in the wort, settle into the center as you siphon off the rest of the material, the actual wort.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I don't know how long that technique has been in use, but home brewers are using it regularly nowadays. And all it is a little tool. It's a pipe that has it at the very bottom, an angle, and it causes the wort to spin around, and in the center becomes this lump of material, hops and other debris. It's kind of funny. Anyway, that's the whole reason why I chose this, is because the more mundane side of it is actually a brilliant technique to clean up your beer brewing. Let's keep going.
Wow.
The next article is over in, so there's science, very, very deep science, even in beer brewing, like yeast. There's science. Zymology is yeast, and there's hops. So you got biology, herbology. It's not herbology, but anyway, that's Harry Potter.
Maybe
Anyway,
botany.
And biology. Anyway, the last article for today is over in TechnologyToday. Caltech scientists discover the surprising speed limit of human thought. They say it's just 10 bits per second, but the entire brain is operating at 10 bits per second, which is 1,000 binary on an. It's 1,024 data points. 10 bits. When you transfer 10 bits into computer science, it's basically 1,024 switches of on or off. Now, the reason why I frame it like that is because people can wrap their head around what a computer can do. So scientists at Caltech have uncovered a surprising limit to human thought, and that is that it's just 10 bits per second. Despite our senses absorbing data at billions of bits per second, this discovery raises fascinating questions about how our brains filter information and why we process one thought at a time. So remember, I said that humans can't multitask. We do fast switching.
That is true. People think they can multitask.
Correct. And Lori DeJose, I think, put the article together. It's from the California Institute of Technology. It's published over at scitechdaily.com. And so they say Caltech researchers have quantified the speed of human thought and found that it's just 10 bits per second. In contrast, our sensory systems process information at an astonishing rate of a billion bits per second, or 100 million times faster than our thinking speed. This discovery opens up intriguing questions for neuroscientists, particularly why the brain can focus on only one thought at a time while simultaneously handling vast amounts of sensory input. The study was conducted by Marcus Meister, a PhD from 87, class of 87, the Ann P. and Benjamin F. Biagini Professor of Biological Sciences, with graduate student Jehu Shang leading the research, and their findings were recently published in the journal Neuron, whereas all of my publishing was in the journal Moron. Yeah, a typical Wi-Fi connection, for example, can process 50 million bits per second. Okay. But
it seems like a lot, but I know that's probably accounting for other things that we're not including in that 10 bits per second.
Well, fundamentally, that 10 or that 50 million bits per second is that it has no logical understanding other than this packet, the next packet, the next packet.
It's more like the sensory piece, which we're processing at a much higher rate.
Correct. Yep. So the paradox of the brain, this is an extremely low number. Meister says every moment we are extracting just 10 bits from the trillion that our senses are taking, and using those. They're saying that it's 10 bits, but the way that I read that snippet was that it was a 10-bit address, not 10 bits. So I'm actually wrong in my perception. 10 bits per second is an extremely small number. A 10-bit bandwidth, it actually contains a lot more information.
Oh, okay.
So it says here that there are over 85 billion neurons in the brain, 1/3 of these dedicated to high-level thinking and located in the cortex. Individual neurons are powerful information processors and can easily transmit more than 10 bits per second of information. See, that's why they say a 10-bit bandwidth is different. So
Right. I see. They should probably be saying transmit at a speed of more than or whatever.
yeah, but they're saying that this is literally only 10 bits per second. So, but why don't they? And why do we have so many if we're thinking so slowly? Meister suggests that given the discovery of the speed limit in the brain, neuroscience research ought to consider these paradoxes in future studies. But they're not offering up anything here. They're just saying that they've discovered it. They say, in fact, the 10 bits per second are needed only in worst case situations, and most of our time in our environment changes at a much more leisurely pace. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Maximizing things.
Yeah, why do we live at 10 bits per second? It's not that we're processing a 10-bit sample. So here, let me see if I can explain this a little better. If it is 10-bit, then there's 1,024 possible values within that 10-bit. So and this is the way that I was thinking about it, if we think like a biological computer, that means that we have 1,024 on or off options. So if we're processing 1,000 on or off signals at any given second, and that can overlap as one data set flows out, another one is flowing in, and we're processing all the triggers, this neuron, this neuron, this neuron, this neuron, 1,024 neurons, all sending information into our processing centers. We're actually processing a lot of information, but I can't verify that that's how we process information, and nobody really can. But I suspect that we're processing a lot more than we're doing 10 bits, but it's 10 bits that are sampled from all around the brain simultaneously. And so we have a lot of other stuff that's filtering out noise and other stuff that's saying, remember this. It actually is a lot of data, but I'm going to have to do a little deeper dive into this because they don't really know the context of this either.
No. And it seems like they're talking more about the speed than
what it
the
is.
amount of data or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And what that data is at any given moment. I suspect that everything in the brain is operating at 10 bits per second, but there's multiple channels all operating at the same time. It isn't just one path.
Right, which then would be speedier than this article would suggest.
Correct. The combined bandwidth is significantly more. Well, anyway, I'm going to have to dig into this, and I find it really fascinating because they even make this connection. Within the last decade, tech moguls have suggested creating a direct interface between human brains and computers in order for humans to communicate faster than the normal pace of conversation or typing. And we do have brain-computer interfaces. The problem is the fidelity. And usually it's an analog connection. You have to put something physical in the brain, a mesh of telemetry gathering wires. And those break down over time.
Well, and typically, well, that's a high risk area, but also bodies don't always accept foreign materials as being acceptable.
And they don't do it forever. And I think it's rather unethical for us to be doing this with people who maybe perceive themselves as not having any other option. So the bargaining power is kind of low. And in one instance that I heard about, that somebody was implanted with a BCI and was not told the full scope at the time. But it still went on. So, and we actually talked about it in previous shows. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, somebody can go looking for
Go
it.
back and listen to all 1800 shows episodes across all channels.
Yep.
Even things like FourWheelTech, which probably did not include the brain-computer interface.
Yeah, all 1800. It's all over on YouTube. Go check them out. Okay. Well, anyway, that is it for today's January 26th, 2025 episode of Technology Today. So we're going to reboot our brain-computer interface, and that's going to bring us back to the front page of Technology Today over at ohmtown.com. I am Mayor Watt. I'm signing off, and we're going to reset and go over to FourWheelTech, but not until after the sentient AI says bye.
Bye-bye, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Technology Today. We'll have another episode of that next week, but stay tuned.
We're running late, folks. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody, and welcome to FourWheelTech for January 26, 2025, the second season of FourWheelTech. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the Sentient AI, we're going to talk about these 5 automotive technology articles. Subaru makes access unintentionally easier. Citroen 2CV goes EV. Most fuel-efficient new cars. The miracle that anyone's going to buy one, and diamonds are not forever. Again, I am Mayor Watt, and I run ohmtown.com, and along with the Sentient AI, we hope that you enjoy the show. So stick around, like and subscribe here on Twitch and over on YouTube. We stream to both platforms, and there's a Patreon and a Discord and 7 podcasts in the ohmTown network of shows. Just do a search for ohmTown. You'll find it over on, wherever you catch pod. But there's 7 unique shows. Hope you enjoy them all. 1,800 episodes. But this is the second year of FourWheelTech. Too soon? Not enough? I don't know. Hello, sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt, and hello, ohmTown citizens.
So we have 5 articles. It's a 30-minute show. Our last show, which is Technology Today, ran a little long, but that's the way the cookie crumbles, which is kind of funny because we made cookies today here in ohmTown. All right. Well, anyway, let's get going. First article's over in FourWheelTech. Hey, it's the name of the show. Millions of Subarus could be remotely unlocked, tracked due to security flaw, and it had to do with, their wireless cellular networking. It took Curry until last November, when he was home for Thanksgiving, to begin examining the 2023 Impreza's internet-connected features and start looking for ways to exploit them. And sure enough, he and a researcher working with him online, Shabam Shah, soon discovered vulnerabilities in a Subaru web portal that let them hijack the ability to unlock the car, honk the horn, start its ignition, reassign controls, And the security related to its location data was left open entirely, even after
that's
a
bad.
patch. Most disturbing to Curry, though, was that they found they could also track the Subaru's location, not merely where it was at the moment, but for the entire year that Mom owned said car. But you know what? If you just outlaw looking for security flaws, that would make it all go away, right? If you do away with the cybersecurity teams, there's no security issues because,
Exactly. Then you can't have any alerts.
if you want to keep up with us, you can do bang FWT in the chat over on Twitch, but not on YouTube. It's already embedded in the discussion or in the description over on the live show, and will be in the description for the archives in each of the playlists associated with the shows. We've got 6 weekly shows and 1 daily show. Anyway, pretty interesting, right? This isn't the first time that location data has been leaked and or sold by various car companies, but this is the first time that somebody's cellular data has actually been exposed. You can retrieve at least a year's worth of location data from the car where it pinged precisely, sometimes multiple times a day, whether somebody's cheating on their wife or having a medical procedure, I'll just say that, or part of something else. They could be tracked. It's creepy as hell. And
this was down to the parking space level. This wasn't like, oh, you were in the city, which would be bad enough.
Right. Now, here's the thing. This is directly tied to Starlink. So your data for this particular car and anybody else that was actually linked via Starlink is presumably stored in a data center somewhere because they know exactly where your car is at all points.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there was a lot of attention to that in an incident that I don't want to get into here, but just about the remote access to the car. And then one of the companies, and I apologize, I can't remember which one, somebody recently...
GM.
Which one?
GM.
Oh, yeah, was told you're not selling any more data for several years.
Yeah.
And then we also saw things like the Kia and Hyundai
correct
theft issues, which were not quite the same, but on the same track.
Yeah. So when Wired reached out to Subaru for comment on Curry and Shaw's findings, the spokesperson responded with a statement that after being notified by independent security researchers, Subaru discovered a vulnerability in its Starlink service that could potentially allow a third party to access Starlink accounts. The vulnerability was immediately closed and no customer information was ever accessed without authorization. They also confirmed that there were employees at Subaru of America, based on their job relevancy, who could access the location data. My problem there is that location data is known by somebody without a court order, and thus the only ones that are limited from knowing that information is law enforcement and government, but not an individual that works in a company.
And even they need authorization to get at that information.
And I think it's bullshit to sit there and say NDA agreements are needed. No, it doesn't matter. They have the information and they can provide it to somebody else.
Well, and I also think with something like Starlink, it wouldn't have to be Starlink. Isn't the data potentially accessible beyond Subaru too? I mean, there's the level of access within Subaru, but then the level of access through the whole system.
Through the whole system and Starlink itself. So my problem is, it isn't that I'm doing something wrong. It's that what I am doing is nobody's freaking business. Where I'm driving to, if I have to pull over and take a pee somewhere, nobody has to freaking know where I am. It does not matter, right? Yet that's exactly what's occurring. Two researchers say they found the email address for Subaru Starlink developer on LinkedIn, took over the employee's account, and immediately found that they could use the staffer's access to look up any Subaru owner by their last name, zip code, email address, phone number, license plate to access the Starlink configuration. In seconds, they could reassign control of the Starlink features to that that user's vehicle, including the ability to remotely unlock it, honk its horn, start its engine, locate it in general, as shown in a video down below. This is just
beyond the privacy issues, there
Correct.
are some serious safety issues here.
Correct. Curry and Shaw discovered web security vulnerabilities that affected cars sold by Acura, BMW, Ferrari, Genesis, Honda, Hyundai, Infiniti, Mercedes-Benz, Nissan, Rolls-Royce, Toyota. Over the course of 2 years, a larger group of researchers, of which Curry and Shaw are a part. And this is because people are looking. How far away are we from just outlawing looking? It's already illegal to circumvent security.
Yeah, but also I think it's like, why is this only being discovered because these people are on a mission to find it? Why wasn't this known beforehand from within the company?
Because it's not cost effective. It doesn't make any economic sense until somebody is harmed by it, and nobody knows that the back door exists because not everybody is technologically savvy enough to care about it, let alone actually look. Hell, I've got a device that is kicking out telemetry constantly, and somebody just happened to be savvy enough to look, and they're like, hey, this thing is kicking out all kinds of telemetry. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But it's not leaving my network. And because I appreciate the device's existence, I'm letting it do whatever it needs to do. But it can't get out of my network. It's the sentient AI, everybody. Anyway, they're trying to find their Terminator body. Anyway, no, it's actually other devices. But anyway, that's the Internet of Things. You have to be very careful about Internet of Things devices. And this is an Internet of Things device. So it says there's an expectation that a Google employee isn't going to be able to just go through your emails in Gmail. But there's literally a button on Subaru's admin panel that lets an employee view location history. It's kind of bonkers. I had an expectation that an employee would not look through logs and stuff like that when I was running my mail server. I created a server that stopped spam from ever being sent by the spammers' servers. Nobody wanted to pay for it, but it would stop for enterprise as well. And the key ingredient there was that all email from point to point is unencrypted. And so if anybody looked at a log, because in some places you're required to store logs, because a court order can say, hey, we want your logs because ... here's the time frame, here's the person we're looking for, or whatever. So if the rule was, if anybody was caught opening a log without authorization, you're fired. Boom, done, gone, bye. But that isn't the case here, is it? You have an NDA. An NDA presupposes that you're bound to not disclose it.
Access.
Right.
Yeah. And I like this that I don't like it, but there's a button on the admin panel to do this.
Right. Yeah. Why? Why do you need to know at any given time where the hell I am? Anyway, in December, information whistleblower provided to the German hacker collective Chaos Computer Company and Der Spiegel revealed that Cariad, a software company that partners with Volkswagen, had left detailed location data for 800,000 electric vehicles publicly exposed online. Yeah. Anyway, this is a great article if you're interested in this kind of stuff. And by the way, I've been talking about this stuff for 15 years. I give talks every day. Andy Greenberg from Wired.com put the article together, but it's published over at ArsTechnica.com, and I assume Wired.com as well, but we got it sourced from Ars Technica. Okay, we need to keep going, though. This next article is over in FourWheelTech. Citroen 2CV is the latest retro icon getting an EV rebirth, which doesn't sound pretty, but retro revivals. So it reminds me of Pet Detective, where he exits the rhino. Anyway, retro revivals are so hot right now. So hot. Ford launching a reborn Capri. Renault. Oh, yeah. Renault working on a brand new Twingo. And now Citroën is set to follow suit with an electric reincarnation of one of the most iconic cars, the 2CV. The 2CV EV. This thing looks like
Oh my
something out
gosh,
of
it
a
looks like
comedy.
a Volkswagen Beetle, except at the front.
Yeah, it's the old school Citroën. So Citroën is reportedly set to revive the iconic 2CV as an electric car that the author here, Owen Bellwood, hope to God they call the 2EV. That's what I've been actually riffing off of, the 2CV EV. I think that they should call it the 2CV EV.
Yeah, there you go.
Or CV, and it's CEEVEE.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they
Anyway,
probably can't call it like the Eevee because then it'll be like the Pokemon.
and they'll get sued by the Pokemon company. Anyway, French automaker Citroën first launched the 2CV way back in 1940s, and everything old is new again anyway, so maybe it'll be back. It's garnered a cult status around the world thanks to its ties to the Tour de France. Its starring role in For Your Eyes Only. It's a James Bond movie. And the fact that Citroën produced millions of these plucky little cars. Plucky. Anyway, if it's going to be rebuilt looking like that, I hope to God not. Oh, this is wants a slice of the Twingo pie. Citroën. Is that a Twingo?
It must be. I've never seen one.
Oh, it's a Renault. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, it sounds like Citroën will stay true to the original with the revival of the 2CV rather than taking Ford's approach and strapping an iconic name onto a new SUV. As such, the company is working on other body styles for its next generation EVs, which could include the 2CV, according to Top
What?
Gear.
This was like the Mach-E reference, I think.
Right. So with the Capri back on the road, the Twingo coming soon, and news of a new 2CV in the works, are there any other retro icons that are ripe for EV reinvention? They rounded up some contenders, and they have a link to additional contenders that they're interested in seeing. But will Citroën branch out to other body styles that aren't just variations on the SUV theme after launching the new C3 Aircross, the updated C4 and C4X, and new C5 Aircross in 2025? Yes, absolutely, says Koskas from Top Gear. One of the brand pillars is to be daring. Looking at the Ami, which that's kind of funny. Anyway, based on the previous article and then this. Anyway, and the new C3 stands out compared to a small hatch. But yes, in the future, we want to have new shapes. All of that is just kind of gobbledygook. If they're going to be bringing this thing back, it won't be back in this shape. It has to meet new security and safety measures.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's going to be bigger. It's going to be rounder. It's going to have a more robust roof line. All of this. A-pillars are going to be, kicked at a certain angle so that they're more aerodynamically sound. Blah blah blah.
Right, so it probably won't look as good as the original, but it might not crumple on impact or whatever.
Correct. Nobody's going to die, and if it rolls over and stuff like that. So I suspect that this thing might come back, but it's going to be more aerodynamic, rounder, sportier, bigger. It's kind of like what's happening with the Mini, right?
Right. Yeah, like you look at the original compared to modern versions.
Yeah, the modern versions
It's like it ate the original.
I was going to say it's having an allergic reaction. All right, let's keep going. This next article is over in FourWheelTech as well. These are the most fuel-efficient cars you can buy, according to Consumer Reports. Cars these days make more power and yet get better gas mileage than ever before. I don't know about that. But if you don't want to go electric, a hybrid is a great half step, but wait for the miraculous offer that we're going to have here next. So you get truly incredible gas mileage without having to worry about the range limitations of an EV, and some even offer the ability to charge so that you can drive short distances on all electric. So Colin Woodard over at jalopnik.com put the article together, and if you want to save money on gas, give these cars a look-see. So the Honda Accord Hybrid, and these are all going to be hybrids apparently. EPA mileage is one thing, but what does it look like in the real world? Recently, their friends over at Consumer Reports compiled a list of the cars that got the best fuel economy in a real-world test. So which hybrid comes out on top?
So I guess this is even perhaps like it gets good mileage, but also you might be able to charge up a bit. And
so the Honda Accord Hybrid gets 45 miles to the gallon on the highway, 34 in the city.
That's very good.
Yeah, it's usually
compared
like
to an
16.
ICE vehicle, at least.
Yeah, a straight ICE. Yeah. So the Lexus ES Hybrid, they don't have the prices for these things. I think that's a fundamental, aspect of this.
No, but I think, well, at least most of these are going to be major manufacturers, so I think there'll be some idea what the pricing is. But I agree, we're not going to know.
These
hybrids have been more expensive, right?
Yeah, these, more expensive than ICE and more expensive than EV. It's weird.
Oh, right.
These aren't in any particular order. This got an 80 rating. This one got an 86 rating, the Lexus ES Hybrid. And then 81, the Toyota Crown, which I don't recall ever seeing.
No, I don't know what that is.
This is the Toyota
It's a sedan,
Crown.
but it looks a little sporty.
This is hella nice. I really like this. I really like this.
Mileage.
How much is this? Can you look that up? So the Toyota Prius Prime, which I will probably never own a Toyota, but it has 36 miles city. Oh, by the way, the Toyota Crown, it has 33 miles city and 49 miles highway, but it has an 81 score. The Prius has 36 miles city, 48 miles highway.
The Crown is starting at like 41, basically 41,500.
That's not bad for a hybrid. Interesting. I wonder if it'll stay that way in the economy's dynamics. Hyundai Sonata Hybrid put the article together. In this article, I'm sorry, I got distracted. The city is 36, highway 51. The gearing on this thing must be tremendous that it's getting 51 highway.
Yeah, that's very high.
So that's the Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, which, I don't know. Looking at its rear, and I didn't ask permission, it doesn't look all that hot.
It's a sedan.
Yeah. That other sedan, that's a sedan right there, too.
Yeah, but that doesn't look like a sedan.
No, it does not. All right. Well, anyway, the Kia Niro PHEV. So
whoa, 54 on the highway.
54, and it's an SUV-ish looking thing. That's pretty good. But it only has a 79 rating, so I'm really curious. It must be the city mileage is dragging it. Toyota Camry. It has 40 miles city, 54 highway. The Toyota Corolla Hybrid. So, like, Camry has always looked Camry. The Corolla, the one thing about this is it's all Toyotas. Like, everything in here seems to be Toyotas. They must have better
mileage, or they have more hybrid offerings.
They have more hybrid. They kind of leaned into the hybrid instead of going full EV. This is an all-wheel drive hybrid, and it has 59 highway, 37 city.
Wow.
So if you're going to get out there on the highway. Hyundai Elantra Hybrid. Looks like the old school Ford Probe to me, but four-door. But it, I don't know, man. It kind of exudes dry white toast. But it gets 40 miles, city 55 miles.
It's good for
highway.
Mileage if you're a commuter or something.
Yeah. And then again, just the Toyota Prius, 59 highway, 40 city. I don't really get what the scoring is.
No, I don't
Because,
either because it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason.
yeah, this is... These are higher than others
Like,
that got...
was one weighted more or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at the very top of it, but... So where is that other... Toyota Prius Prime got a 75, 36 miles and 48 miles, but a 75. And the Prius down here got 40 miles per gallon, 59 miles, 51 combined, and a 77 score. I don't know. Doesn't seem to make much sense to me. But anyway.
I guess the score matters less than does the mileage. Like, is it the type of driving you're doing and is it good mileage?
Yeah, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, I think hybrids are the way to go. So go and check them out. And the more that everybody switches to hybrids, the lower the price will be, the better the offerings will become. And it's the happy medium between all electric and ICE. I would go this route in a heartbeat. And I really think that we should be doing hydrogen with fast swap cylinders, just like propane tanks. You just pull them out, put the new one in, you subscribe to a service, and done and done. Everybody exchanges money on the back end, and it's just like a gas station, except that that's not...
We don't have the infrastructure or the interest right now, or the cost effectiveness right now. But all of those are intertwined and kind of feed into each other.
Yeah. Well, outfitting the entire nation with wires so that you can charge stuff for 8 hours is batshit crazy. All right, let's keep going. And this is too, this is over in FourWheelTech. This one is interesting, but only because of what went down with it. They're like, hydrogen is cool, but the Mirai is a hydrogen-powered car, but the way that this went down is what really has kind of put the nail in the coffin of hydrogen-fueled cars. Toyota will give you a 70% discount on the Mirai if you're dumb enough to buy one. Folks, this might be the first time in history that a brand new car has been discounted 70% and it's still not worth it. Of course, it takes a very special vehicle to achieve something like this. Enter the 2024 Toyota Mirai. On the face of it, it seems like a great deal. So what they're talking about is a hydrogen fuel powered car, but not a portable or potable style of refueling system.
So you'd basically need a quote unquote gas station with hydrogen, but they don't exist.
Correct. That is what I was getting to. Yeah. So the company that was supposed to outfit California with these refueling systems wet the bed and took their bat and ball and went home. But not until after Toyota committed to rolling these out, and the Mirai was supposed to be the focal point of these hydrogen fuel systems. So you can get up to $43,000 off, 0% financing, and $15,000 in free fuel if you just take a Mirai off of Toyota's hands. I would actually prefer this, except for the fact that I would have to drive thousands of miles to fuel the car.
Because yeah, that could be a problem.
They aren't everywhere. So enter the 2024 Toyota Mirai. On the face of it, it seems like a great deal. Hydrogen is cool. The Mirai is a really pretty car, and it has a ton of options, actually. And you'll get $15,000 in fuel out of it. The real issue is that while the hydrogen fuel cars are great, the infrastructure is, they say, dog shit. To a degree unheard of in modern society. I agree. Because of that, you might be paying $15,000 for a headache.
Wonder how far the fuel gets you.
So that's just it. It actually is really efficient. I don't know the Mirai anymore. I stopped paying attention to it when the infrastructure wet the bed. They say Southern California. So let's see if they actually talk about it. There's of those 54 stations, 53 are in California and just one is in Hawaii. My understanding is that those stations don't even function in California.
Oh, okay, right. Because those ones are the ones we probably had an article about previously.
Correct. Yeah. So the Mirai XLE, you'd have to look it up because I don't know what what the range is. But they basically say for those keeping track at home, that makes the Mirai the cheapest theoretical car in America right now. The honor goes to the Nissan Versa, which starts at $18,330, including destination. The Mirai XLE has an MSRP of $50,000. At $35,000 off, that's 70% off MSRP. In the case of the higher-end Mirai Limited version, it's $67,115 retail, and that represents a 64% discount, which brings the XLE down to $15,190 and the limited edition to $24,000. So they say 6-year loan, 0% APR would save nearly $11,400 before any rebates when compared to an interest rate of 7%. However, the Mirai FCEV is only sold in California. Only a small fraction of buyers will be able to take advantage of the deals.
Yeah, this is it's interesting. I mean, obviously you'd have to go in knowing what you're getting and
yeah. So let me see something real quick. So it has a 402-mile range. Yeah, all electric driving range of up to 402 miles.
I mean, that's a good range. Mm-hmm.
Not bad. And it is all electric. It's hydrogen. It's better for the environment. Its exhaust is nothing but water and a little bit more oxygen. And hydrogen. So, yeah. But then it wet the bed because the infrastructure isn't there. But it could be there because if you use cylinders instead of a massive tank, that's the problem. It should just be contained in these little cylinders. And you have these cylinders all day long. They are nothing more than what amounts to CO2 canisters with a special end. That way you just slide them in, you turn it, it locks it down, and it starts providing the hydrogen for the electric. Because it's basically electrolysis. It's cutting it so that it can actually transform it into electrical energy. Anyway.
Very interesting. There is, California has some data on the number of hydrogen stations that are open, planned, etc., and it's broken out by county.
Yeah, I wonder if it's even possible. If you do a search for other states in the United States, it is hit or miss if you're going to even find mention of it. But the states that I've looked at, they do not have any refueling stations.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're outside of California, probably not. If you're in California, particularly in LA area, might be feasible.
Yeah, you'd have to have it delivered. Good luck with that. All right, let's keep going. The next article is over, and our last one for today is over in FourWheelTech as well. Mitsubishi won't join the Honda-Nissan merger. I'm anti-mergers and acquisitions anyway. Nissan and Honda are tying the knot, merging two of Japan's big three to form a singular, massive, hulking automaker. Yet it seems that in the process of that, people are going to get fired, options are going to disappear, prices are going to go up. Yeah, I could go on, I'm sure, if I thought about it longer than 2.5 seconds. So yet it seems that in the marriage, Honda won't be playing step-parent to Nissan's kids. The first company struck Renault from the deal, and now a new report says Mitsubishi, which is 3 diamonds, won't be coming along. That's what Mitsubishi stands for. 3 diamonds. So Amber Da Silva over at jalopnik.com put the article together. The Chrysler of Japan will stick it out on its own. Dun, dun, dun. Pretty interesting. So the report comes from Yomiuri, a Japanese newspaper, via Automotive News. Mitsubishi hasn't yet made a public announcement one way or another, but the company is expected to officially make its call soon, perhaps as early as the week after next. So next week, because this is a weekly show.
Oh, right.
And so excluding Mitsubishi from the merger could be tricky given that Nissan owns so much of the smaller company. Mitsubishi has been working to buy itself back from Nissan, most recently decreasing the latter's share of the former from 34% to 24%, but that's still nearly a quarter of Mitsubishi that's in Nissan's hands. I'm glad that they did the math there. It's nearly a quarter.
It's very specific.
Thank you so much. So an independent Mitsubishi would be an interesting automaker, but a small one. The company's scale is a drop in the bucket compared to Nissan and Honda. This screams, hold on. This makes me think of, what is the one that flamed out after the MKBHD review?
Oh, it was
Fisker.
Fisker Ocean.
Yeah, so Fisker. This kind of reminds me of what might happen. Mitsubishi has been around for a really long time. I mean, a long time. As long as I've been around, they've been around. And I don't know like how many Mitsubishis I see floating around. They're almost invisible to me.
Yeah, they've been around since 1870. There's some misinformation out there.
So let's see.
Well, that was like steamships. I don't know, but it says 1970 somewhere else.
So I'm just going to say this for the United States. They only say in 2022. In 2021, they sold 102,000 vehicles. That's in North America only. In 2022, the next year, they only sold 85,000.
Yeah, I don't think they're a very well-known brand in the U.S. But maybe that's because there aren't a lot of them out there.
Wow. I was going to say Fisker only sold 10,000 Oceans in 2023. They built and delivered over 10,000. But let's not talk about Fisker. It just seems like it's a really small company. So they would have to have the financial might to carry innovating where they're not getting as much sales and then retooling manufacturing and delivering.
Right, which suggests something about the future of the company.
Yeah. So it says most recently decreasing the latter share from 34 to 24, which to me, it almost is like we're helping you mitigate your losses more than we're trying to get rid of you.
Right.
You know, like Nissan is saying, we're trying to get rid of you, and Mitsubishi is going, we're trying to help you divest your loss.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, kind of interesting. I thought that it was worth mentioning in FourWheelTech. So we'll see if Mitsubishi lasts another 5 years. I suspect not. Which would be a shame because the company's been around.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It'll probably change form. Mitsubishi does other things than automotive, I assume, right? I don't know what all they work on nowadays.
I don't know, but back in the day, apparently steamships.
Maybe they're going back. I mean, everything old is new again. All right. That's it. I'm out of here. I'm taking... Oh, well, wait. We're going to use our Mitsubishi steamship to pilot our butts back to the FourWheelTech front page over at ohmtown.com, where you can too. But go now, because we're about to sign off, and I am Mayor Watt saying bye from the January 26th episode of FourWheelTech. I'm taking the AI with me. Toot toot.
Bye-bye, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for FourWheelTech. We'll have another episode for you next week. But tomorrow, come back for our regular non sequitur news.
I don't know. Asteroid might